Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I won't waste your time. Let's get into this. So, first, we have the book itself, which is called The Seven Spiritual Laws of Success. And it was written by Deepak Chopra. And Deepak's his father and his grandfather were both practitioners of legitimate medicine. I think his dad was a cardiologist. And this gives him a very good credibility line to when he publishes this book. People can refer to his background, and he isn't wrong. It really played him well. So he combined, I guess, that knowledge of medicine with sort of quantum physics and the mind and body medicine. And so he gives us this book, which is it's not as practical. It's not like, this and this. It's kind of principles that you should live by. It's good for expanding your worldview and kind of practicing your own philosophy by thinking about these laws. And so, Law 1 states the law of pure potentiality. And first, if you think about it, or me personally, I thought of a great man named Jordan Peterson. And he once stated, not once, actually multiple times, he stated multiple times in various lectures, that it is critically important that a young man finds his purpose because he's full of potential. Because the younger you are, the more potential you have. So this law applies, it applies to anybody, but specifically for young people. Because, let me give you an example. He gave this great example. He said, would you hire a 20-year-old man to learn a specific field? Let's say, I don't know, ACs, like air ducts. It's a great field to get into. Let's say, would you hire a 20-year-old or a 45-year-old to get in the field? The 20-year-old has insane amount of potential to grow and expand, knowing the knowledge of the field. A 45-year-old, even though he is older and he has experienced a little more, he does not have that same potential. Because, from a physical perspective, your brain kind of gets a little bit, worse as you pass, I think it's 35 or something. So, that and just plain age, there's a certain amount of time on this earth that you have, and so he's just going to have less time overall to join a field. And basically Deepak says, in order to understand your true potential, it's okay to be alone, which is very important. Look at this. Take a moment of silence. Look at this golf course. Listen to this peaceful, quiet noise. It's okay to be alone, and for young people especially. Before, I'll give you a personal story. I thought parties were such an amazing thing. It's like you get to collaborate and everything. But to be fair, how many times you specifically went to a party and you left that party? You wake up the next day. You're not drunk, you're not anything, but you just wake up and you are actually happy. You feel like, yes, I've been to this party. I feel so happy. What an amazing, productive time I've had. No, you wake up and you're like, I went to that party, it was good. But you feel in the back of your mind that you could have done something just a little bit more productive. And parties, if it's a good party, go. But man, if you go to parties once a week, okay, twice a week, that's just too much, man. It doesn't help you progress, unless it's a valuable party. But what is a valuable party with high quality people is insanely rare. Usual parties that we have here and there are from people who are degenerates. That's the facts. They're usually degenerate people who just come to have fun. But fun is not always the key. Honestly, if you don't go to a party, it's hard, because then you would be like, well, I'm socially invalidated. You have to just get past that fear. It's okay, because the people are pulling you down. You excel alone better than you do with these people around you. So why would you talk to these people? It's stupid. You just have to get that primal brain that wants you to be in a clan, united, conjusted. Is that a word? No, that's not a word. United, together, in a pack of a tribe, to kind of let that go and just to improve alone, and then join a better tribe. So that's kind of Deepak's further explanation of that. And you have to understand yourself, because if you don't understand yourself, you really can't base accurate decisions about your goals and potentials. Because yes, you can't say, I'm going to uni. How many times you were pressured to go to university because your mom wanted to? or your dad wanted to, a lot. And oftentimes, if you think about it and you're driven and you want to go somewhere else, you have to break that chain. You just snap it and you say no. In the back of your mind, you're going there, at this place, at this time, and this route. And it's important to do. So he says, really get to know yourself. Because once you do, you can make better decisions. He says, drop your ego. Your ego blinds you. Very important. We're all students of life. And there's a great Russian quote that I enjoy. It's called "Век живи, век учись," which means live a century, learn a century. Because you can never stop learning. Ask any smart guy, the smartest people in the world, Elon Musk, anybody. They are all gonna tell you, I know this much. The world has this much to offer. And you just learn. It's okay. You can be smart. You are smarter than people, but you're never at your potential of smartness, if it makes sense. So then he goes into an interesting concept. It's called self-referral versus objective referral. And this kind of goes into like self-belief. It's self-referral is when you're confident in yourself. Even if you don't have the best job, even if you don't have the best clothes yet, you know you're the man or the woman. You know you're the man, and you have that confidence, you know? You build your body up maybe. You're confident inside. You're strong. You are smart. You're intelligent. And then that is self-referral. You have object referral, which is the other side. And object referral is when you base your kind of success and your emotions on your ego. And it's basically entitlement. And you go in like a corporate exec. If he's a fat, overweight, uneducated, life-wise, because there's a difference between being educated in school and being educated in life. If he is school educated, he's fat. He has very limited knowledge of social skills. He doesn't know how to talk. He bases his success off of the fact that he's in that company and that his company pays him a lot. But once he loses that company, his objective referral is gone. And if he doesn't have that self-referral, it's going to be very hard for him to climb back up. That's how people, a lot of them, commit suicide. It's very sad, but that's just the way it is. I forgot to mention this. Before we go on to the next chapter, he goes over the steps on how you can achieve this. So he says practice silence, practice meditation, and practice non-judgment, which is very good. They all interconnect. It's all kind of similar. When you practice meditation, you're usually quiet or silent. And non-judgment, this one I don't really agree with him on, because if you're young, maybe. But it's important to kind of look, you have to, again, this book is really like, you have to take it more philosophically. You can't just go out and not judge anybody, because it's important to judge. What the hell is the point of having opinions if you don't judge? You need to have judgment, and you need to look at other people, but you have to, I guess, embrace their point of views to a certain extent, because you have to, or ignore their point of views completely. But it doesn't mean don't have a point of view. It means you have to kind of, feel that atmosphere of people around you. So absorb that, but don't judge. Deepak says, wherever you go, carry your stillness with you and silence. So it basically means be calm anywhere you go, because that allows you to clearly think. Law 2 is basically all about giving, and it talks about giving genuinely. You can give everything. You can give, just nonchalantly. Just give everything here, there. But if it's not genuine, there's a quote, I forget what it's called. It's like, one thing is better than a million other things that's given genuinely. And he talks about it here, because he says, it doesn't have to, as a young man or a woman, if you're in your 20s, it's hard to give, especially for young men, it's hard to give something materially. So he says, instead of giving something cheap materially, or even like, a good material gift, unless you're from the upper classes of the society, you probably can't do that. But he says 3 things. It's a compliment, a flower, or a prayer. And it's very interesting because you can give those stuff genuinely. Like, it's true. You can give anybody a compliment. Make it a goal today. When you say hi to somebody, just compliment them. Just give them a quick compliment. See how that makes you feel. It's cliche as hell, but it works. Just tell them, be like, you know, good that you're hitting the gym today. Happy that there's more strong, you know, fit people around here. And, or you can give a flower or a prayer. A prayer is, you know, kind of, you're not going to be like, God bless you. Like, that's just going to be weird. People are going to think you're a creep. But you can do it internally if you want. Just, I mean, you can't say God bless you. How many old women told you, bless you, honey bun? But, you know, it's like, it's a little cringe sometimes. So either do it inside or do it. It's all right, just do it. Just do it. Don't even, it's not cringe. It's good. Do it. Feel what feels best. And he says, through giving, it's the energy that flows into the material manifestation. So he says, when you give something, it basically flows back at you, which is true. I mean, it's obviously philosophical and more spiritual, but you can't prove it with facts. But it does work sometimes. I mean, how many times have you given something and then in the span of a week something good happens? It usually happens. Sometimes. Unless you're insanely unlucky. But that sounds like a you problem. So basically, he says, give in order to receive. And it's a good concept for delayed gratification in party life. It's like, what do you choose? If you choose delayed gratification or party life. If you choose party life, well then you are going to have fun first, but then you're not going to have fun later in life. I mean, you could unless you're rich, but again, if you're not, it's probably a better idea to first give and sort of build yourself up and then enjoy the fruits of your labor. And it's just going to come back to you. It depends. The work you put in is going to come back out to you. And if you party, you don't do anything, well, nothing is going to come back to you. It's true. It works. And so then just a quick question. How do you feel when you give something to a person? When you give something, does it make you happy? And if you say it doesn't, then there's something wrong with you. You have to like go see a psychiatrist. But for me personally, I feel very happy. And let me know if you relate to this. But I feel happy when I give something to little kids. Now, I get that dirty mind away. I don't mean it in a strange way. I mean, like, if you meet some kid at, I don't know, it's use a gym. It's a cliche example, but it works. If you're at the gym and you see a young kid and you are doing something impressive and he looks at you, I feel good when I teach him how to do, or at least get closer to his goal of becoming something better. And if I inspire him, that's even better, because that makes you happy, man. Come on, just it does. There's no argument about it. You just feel better. And really quickly, going back to the compliments. So compliment the people that you value, not some hoe on the strip club. Be like, oh, you looking beautiful to, like, no. Compliment your mother, your family member, your friend who you're close with. And if you're having trouble complimenting somebody, you know a good strategy? Do it almost sarcastically. Say like, yeah, you got nice shoes today. Or, yeah, that blouse is looking so cute on you. Man, like, you get it? So, do it as like almost a joke. And it's going to help you improve that. Because eventually you'll just start doing it genuinely. So, that pretty much, I guess, concludes this law. And it's a very good law to implement, once again. Compliment people and give them a sort of hope and inspiration, because it will come back to you. Promise. Alright, so law 3 is the law of karma. And this law ties again into law 2. They're all interconnected in sequential order. But law 3, it explains, he says, I wasn't a big fan of, I didn't look deeply into the whole like Hindu philosophy of Buddhism and stuff. And I was like, maybe Hinduism, I'm not a big expert on that. But he explains it pretty well here. He says, every action generates a force of energy that returns to us in like kind. And that is very interesting. It's true. Again, it really, maybe I don't know, you can't prove it factually, okay? But you have a sixth sense that something that you do usually comes back. And if it's good, it's good. And he says, make good choices, basically. And about that, there's a really good book that I had been recommended by a friend. It's called Reality Transferring. And it's, you can listen to it on YouTube. But I tried listening to it. I'm not fully in, but it's kind of, it's very, very kind of on point, and it's a little bit hard to understand, but it tells you that your whole life is dependent on choices. Choices shape your whole entire existence. What choice you chooses, that's what you're gonna get. And so he later goes into something that I don't agree. This is something that I really don't agree, and I want to see what you guys think about it. But he says, at the moment you consciously make a choice, pay attention to your body and ask your body, if I make this choice, what happens? If your body sends a message of comfort, then it is a good choice. And if your body sends a message of discomfort, then it is not the appropriate choice. But, again, if you take this advice too literally, what does that mean? That means you can take drugs, you can, do your stuff, drink, and you feel good in the moment. Let's go! But, again, you have to think of it more broadly. You have to think long term. So not, again, going to law 1. Understand yourself. Find your purpose. Once you found the purpose, if you feel good going towards that purpose, if your inner signal tells you not short term, long term, if this choice will help me get to my purpose, then yes, that's a good choice. It requires some brain power. Get your IQ going. It's not a short term, like, if I drink this beer, I'll feel happy. No, you have to really just connect with yourself. You just don't be stupid. That's literally. Take it, use this, again, in a broader philosophical sense, like Deepak meant it. Now here, I apologize for the change in scenery a little bit, but I forgot to talk about this law, which is a very important law, and ironically enough, it's the law of least effort. And it's law 4. So Deepak here says, grass doesn't try to grow, it just grows. Fish don't try to swim, they just swim. And also, this kind of gives the whole, vibe of just do it. Do it. So don't really care too much about it, don't think about it, just go and do it. And don't worry about things that will happen along the way, which are small. So obviously the things that you don't have any control over, you shouldn't even care about them. But you have quite a decent amount of things you can control in this life. And so, but the thing is, you can focus on little details that will go along this path. So as long as you're generally flowing in the direction of life, where you want to go, towards your purpose, and you're executing goals, you don't have to specifically worry or care and put effort into the little things that will get fixed anyway. And a very respectable gentleman told me a quote. So he said, when raising children, focus more on yourself because your children will be just like you. Which is very true. Because if you're a piece of crap, then your children are most likely gonna look at an example of a piece of crap. But if you're a superior man, then your children will be having an example of a superior man. And so, he once again says in this chapter to basically desist from defending your point of view, which, again, that one is kind of iffy, because if you go very philosophical, ideologically, yes, maybe you should not defend your point of view, but I feel like in this world, if you don't defend, at least when you're older, if you don't defend your point of view, it's going to be very difficult to have a safe, structured society. Now, he says also, don't birth an argument if you have no point to defend. That sounds it just sounds like a wise quote, and it very much is, because it's just true. You waste effort. Law of least effort. Waste as little effort as you can, and if you birth these arguments that are not worth fighting or defending for, you are gonna lose a lot of your energy and a lot of your power. Law of intention and desire. So this law, he starts the chapter with a very interesting, thought-provoking quote. He says, it's not a quote, it's his opinion, but a statement. He gives a statement which says, a tree is made from the same thing as you. The difference between the two of you is in the energy and in the information, which is very true. So we're all made of molecules, but you have the ability to think and you're gifted with energy and information. So that's kind of an interesting concept. And he says, desire alone is weak because the desire in most people is attention with attachment. And think about it simply. Think about chocolate. Chocolate. You have the desire to eat chocolate. You go in, you are attached to it because sugar makes your dopamine increase in your brain and you feel happier in the moment. And you're more attentive to it because you see it and you're provoked by chocolate. So it applies to any addiction pretty much. So he says intent is for the future, but your attention is in the present. So keep things looked forward at, but also be present in the moment. So again, it's like just stay calm in any situation. Too much stress, he says, will lead you to a heart attack. All right, we have the law of detachment. This law goes into just saying, just be a good person. The chapter opens up by him saying that. He says, be a good person. And he says, attachment, this is great dating advice, by the way. Super good dating advice. He says, attachment, on the other hand, is based on fear and insecurity. And the need for security is based on not knowing the true self. And ladies and gentlemen, what chapter did we learn about understanding your true self? Chapter 1. Exactly. So if you understand your true self and you know your goals, then you don't have to be attached to people. Even in school, think about it when you were in high school, college. You would go in and then you would just try to find a friend group. Be like, yeah, and then you just get bonded with those people. You get bonded, even if you knew in the back of your mind they're not the best people, but you still were bonded with them. And it's that primal thing that you have, once again, to get in contact with people. But again, we live in the safest era, so you have to kind of rewire your brain to think that it's not all lost if you're not part of a group. In fact, it can benefit you greatly, as Deepak mentions here. And so he says, even with girls, you have to, attachment, again, I'll give you guys a quick dating advice. So when you pimp in those hoes, you have to be able to walk away at any time. That is key. Walk away at any time. But you have to be high value too. A lot of people are fat and they expect to be liked by girls, and then they're like, I'm walking away but she doesn't chase me. Well, of course she doesn't. Of course, because you're fat and ugly. Now, I don't have anything against fat people. If you're genuinely obese with a problem, just try your best. But there's no excuse for a man to be fat. There's just no excuse, especially in this modern age. Quote me on that, anything. And now, excuse me, that was a little side rant. So, but when you meet some girl, you hold the only power to walk away. But again, it's good and you always have to use it. But caution, don't use it excessively, because I've had instances in the past where you are too cold. And if you're too cold, then you're she's like, I miss you, I love you. And you're just yeah, whatever. Don't be like that. But keep your cards in your hand. The card of leaving and not being attached is always going to be the ace up your sleeve. Only from detached involvement can one have joy and laughter. That is a quoted by him. And he says, you have to basically, it's not always good to be detached. You have to find a golden balance. But a lot of people, and especially this day, they're too attached. So you have to get disattached and understand your true self. So don't chase money, because security can't come from money. Once again, number one is your health, because if you're dead, well, you can't do anything. Family and relationships, they are your backbone. You would rather have family than have $1 million in your bank. Or, okay, some people would like to have $1 million over their family, but social interactions, having good friends, will always top out money. And third is money. That's just my personal opinion. And so you have to focus on other things. Detach. Be with oneself, as he mentions it here. He says to stay calm, and then you will see opportunity, which is very true. He says every single problem that you have in your life is the seed of an opportunity for something greater. And it's very true, because there's this rapper who called 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson. Everybody knows him. He is a very smart businessman. And he wrote in both of his books the fact that you have to stay calm under pressure. And when he got shot 9 times, he wrote that as he was recovering and he was listening to all the nonsense on like radio about those rappers apparently having a tough life, he understood that they were all fake, but he was a real person who got shot 9 times and who has experienced all that trauma, if you will, the whole lifestyle. And he converted that into his music, and his music popped, man. There's no argument in that. His music popped, literally and figuratively. So basically, you have to suffer at some point, because if you don't suffer, then you won't be the man today. Oh, how did that quote go? The suffering made me the man that I am today, or something. You know what I'm talking about. But it's that principle, basically. All right, well, it's getting dark, and I would like to conclude with this book. This book, last chapter, states the law of Dharma. And in this chapter, the whole purpose is to find the purpose of life. He says, there are reasons that you are where you are. And basically, you can relate, man, all the immigrants, shout out to the immigrants, bro. You are somewhere because you have a purpose and duty to do something. Like, if you go someplace and you immigrate someplace, well, you don't just randomly do it. It's usually for a cause, and there is a certain purpose behind your actions, and you have to sort of look for it. Even if it's unknown, if you're like, let's say, have a son who is in a different country, and you're struggling, man, to support him. Keep going, because your son might have a great purpose to become a future leader or a future corporate exec. No, I'm just he might become a great person, basically, even if you don't. There is always a purpose. And he can become a corporate exec. I mean, listen, if that's what you want to do, then you can go ahead. But he says he'll provide Deepak says, is personally, he told his children that they do not worry about money because he will provide for them. And that is a very, very interesting educational, I guess, material that you can implement. Because he says, he told their children, of him and his wife, that they have to look for a purpose. And he will provide for them, even if they're out of college and they're broke and they need some place to stay. He says, you can stay as long as you want, I'll pay for you, but you have to find your purpose. Don't worry about, becoming the richest man in your city or in the places around. You're, the first person to go to college. Oh, in my family, what a like, you find your true purpose. Find your true purpose. If going to college for being the first in your family is your purpose, then do it. But I'm sure for a lot of people, that's not their core purpose. So he says, ask how I can help versus what's in it for me. And it's a really good quote, because that does help you find your purpose. Because it's like doing something you love. If you love to golf, then, find a field of study that relates to golf. Even if it doesn't pay as much, you will save your nerve cells, your lifespan will be longer. And that doesn't mean that you can't excel and become number one. What's stopping you from owning a golf course one day? It's just you. Now, finally, as the conclusion is drawn, I'll leave you with one question. If money was no issue, tell me, what would you do? No, don't tell me. Tell yourself. Just keep it in the back of your mind. Really think, what would you do? If money was no issue, who would you become?